guys, Alex Luft here with GM Authority, and we're about to start shooting the review video for the Cadillac XTS. But before we did that, I thought I'd come in and answer some of your questions that you posted on the blog. Starting with AWIL428 asks, do you find anything cheap in the interior? Are there any gaps, etc.? The really overarching answer to that question is no. I have not been able to find one piece of the interior that doesn't have a soft touch material where it should have a soft touch material. Pretty much every aspect that you touch or don't touch has a soft kind of a material, whether it's leather, whether it's a soft vinyl. The interior design is beautiful in general. There's no gaps that I could find myself. The colors, the textures, the interior is just really well done, and I really have nothing bad to say about it. Justin F asks, how obnoxious is Q? Is it livable? The reviews make it seem awful to live with. You know, Q isn't that bad. I been driving it around for 4 days at this point in time. It takes some time to get used to. It takes probably a good 2-3 days of getting used to in the first place. The other thing is you have to use a computer. I mean, you have to be computer literate in order for you to somehow, to be able to understand how it would work, how it works in general. But it's really not that bad. The reviews make it seem like it's awful, like it, freezes all over the place, or that it, if you're driving 80 miles an hour on the highway, it's somehow not usable. That's really not true after you get used to it. Like I said, I got used to it after about 4 days or so myself, and I'm fine with it now. Dave asks, is anyone actually going to buy this? Seems like the most boring car I've ever heard about in a while. They should revise the CTS-V. That would be far more exciting. Well, this car, like I'm going to mention in the review, it's kind of a necessary evil. The other option was to just not have the XTS, not have a full-size sedan, is really what that means for Cadillac. If they wouldn't have a full-size sedan in general, that means they would be losing a significant amount of their audience, of their existing audience. And I'd even argue that the XTS would even attract an audience, a new audience to the brand. Something that is, someone who hasn't bought a Cadillac before, and they may not be looking for or cross-shopping this car with an S-Class or a 7 Series or a Lexus LS, or an Audi A8 for that matter. But again, this car, it's a necessary evil for now, because you're right. I mean, it doesn't fit in with the new Cadillac mantra of being performance-oriented luxury. It's not rear-wheel drive. It's got the totally wrong engine layout. It's transverse instead of longitudinal. It's got many things that are, on the basis of it, wrong with it. But when you really think about it, the other option was to have no full-size sedan for Cadillac for the next 3 years, whenever Omega would have been ready. And that just really isn't an option. So this car is kind of a necessary evil. It's okay to drive. It's not completely boring. Granted, it's no CTS-V. It's not a V in general, but that said, it is what it is. Kevin A asks, what is the 0 to 60 time and how does it handle when the roads get twisty? Luckily, I've been able to take this car on some twisty roads that lead up to the Pikes Peak Highway, and it's no slouch. Now, like I said before, it's really not a CTS-V. It is not a V-based vehicle. It's really not a performance car, but it can get out of its own way, and that's saying a lot for a car that has a front-wheel drive platform to start with, to work with. The magnetic ride control really does a lot of great things here. It's really a complementary technology, and you feel it when the roads get somewhat twisty and rough, as is the case with some of the Pikes Peak roads leading up to the Pikes Peak Highway. So it's really not bad. It's really not a slouch, not a couch on wheels. It is soft. It is a soft sedan. It's not a, not a 7 Series or an S-Class, let alone the AMG or the Alpina models of either of those two. But it's not a DTS. Let's just put it that way. As far as 0 to 60 times go, the I think I got around 7 seconds myself. I don't have laser measurement tools right now. That's really not what this car is about anyway. But about 7 seconds. I believe it's rated at 6.8, somewhere around 7 seconds or so. Kevin asks, how is the NVH, the noise, vibration, harshness levels? Is it quiet when starting up, when running? Is the startup smooth or shaky? How's the ride over rough roads? Any squeaks or rattles? He's basically interested about all the small things like this car that don't matter much but should be resolved in Cadillac. Well, I don't get to say this very often, but it really is something that has been refined on this car, on this platform in general. Well, we're getting a lot of wind now, huh? Can you still hear me? Okay. Well, like I said, the NVH levels in this car, they're really, Cadillac has done an amazing job here. GM has done an amazing job here. Really, the whole car, it coddles the occupants. It isolates them from the road. It isolates them from the harshness of the maybe a rough paved road, or a loud truck going by. Even if you're going 80, 90 miles an hour, you don't really feel it. And that is a huge accomplishment. In fact, that's one of the reasons why I think this car would be, or might even be, better suited as a Buick, because it is so quiet, it is so docile, it's so soft and refined. And again, it's not a DTS level of softness. It's kind of its own thing, and that to me it's somewhat interesting, to say the least. I didn't find any squeaks in the car except for one. It might have something to do with our tester, the fact that people, journalists, media, they probably tend to beat up on these cars. The driver's side door handle to exit out of the car, it vibrates and kind of rattles a little bit on certain paved roads. So I think that's something that's really exclusive to this tester model. I don't think that will be the case when you actually go out and buy one of these and, not pulling the door handle 10,000 times like all the media do. Let's see here. David asks, is the ambient lighting a gold, white, or an ice blue? It looks different in every video. What do the door handles look like when lit in the real world? Well, it's kind of like a white gold is how I describe it. It's really nice. It's classy. It's not blue at all. It's really kind of a white gold, golden, whitish type of a color. We'll have some videos, some pictures here for you in a bit. Really nice. It's really elegant, classy. Those are the ways in which I describe it. Not as futuristic as, say, the ambient lighting in a Buick or a Chevy. But really, it's kind of its own thing, and it really makes it right for Cadillac. Next, Tyler asks, why didn't they just go straight up and make it rear-wheel drive and give Buick Opel a full-size car instead with this? Well, I don't know, really. I don't really have an answer to that question directly from GM, but if you're asking my personal opinion, I believe that it's because Omega, or whatever full-size rear-wheel drive vehicle architecture that's destined for the true Cadillac flagship full-size sedan, it's not ready yet, and it probably won't be ready for another 2-3 years. So in that regard, that's pretty much the reason why. That said, I do think that this car, like I've mentioned several times before, this car will be better off served as a Buick. Maybe not as a LaCrosse, maybe something that's a LaCrosse Plus, maybe something like a flagship Buick vehicle, or maybe even the LaCrosse, who knows. The point is that this is really a full-size car. It's not performance focused. It would make it for a perfect Buick. It's elegant, it's luxurious, it's stylish. Would really make for a perfect Buick in my opinion. Ed asks, will the 2014 have the twin turbo? It might. It might. I don't know. I don't have any inside information on that. We do know that a twin turbo 3.6 is coming. It would make a great addition to a car like this. The 3.6 LFX, the naturally aspirated unit that makes 304 horsepower in this configuration and 270-ish pound-feet of torque here. it's not powerful, it's not weak, it's kind of right in the middle. And for those who do want more power, I'm not sure if there's a market in this kind of a car for that, but maybe there is. And for those, twin turbo 3.6 V6 would make for a great power plant. Two Brake Tony seems to have a hard-on for the editing of the picture. Tony, there's no editing of the picture involved. I know a couple other guys here, they've come back and said that the picture was edited. It has not been edited. So we'll have a gallery about that for you here shortly, but there's no editing involved, so relax the back, so to speak. Jackson asks, why is this thing front drive? I already addressed that. Omega probably isn't ready, and it probably won't be ready until 2015 or so. Let's see here. GM Wisdom Seeker asks, does front-wheel drive get in the way of the driving and luxury experience? As in, does it bug you that a car that cost $60,000 came with front-wheel drive since GM cut corners? Here's the interesting part about that. The only corner cutting on this car is in its foundation. It's kind of a paradox, you know, because you've got a beautiful interior, a gorgeous exterior. The pictures don't do this car justice as far as the exterior styling is concerned. The car is just beautiful from every single aspect. The details, the options, the technology, the styling, all that make it a great vehicle. But then you look at the architecture, and that's the foundation of the car. And that is where GM cut corners. They didn't cut any corners when it came to everything else except for the foundation. Now again, you know, that was probably a necessary evil because, you know, Omega, the full-size rear-wheel drive architecture that's been rumored and for the last 2-3 years, it's just not ready yet. So again, we keep coming back to the Omega not being ready as the reason for this car and its existence. I'm sure that if Omega were ready right now, we wouldn't even be seeing this car. But as it stands, it's not, so we see this. It doesn't really get in the way of driving because the 3.6 is a 3.6. It makes 304 horsepower. It's not really that powerful. It's not really that strong. If this car had the LFA, you know, or even the any kind of LS series motor, anything above, I'd say 400 horsepower, we'd probably feel it. This is the XTS 4, so it's the all-wheel drive version with the Haldex. But you know, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know if a more powerful engine would get in the way of it. I guess it's something we'll have to see and see if we get either a V8, probably not, because this is an Epsilon after all. We will probably get a twin turbo V6, like I just said, so that'll be interesting to see if it gets in the way of the car and its driving. As it stands right now, it does not get in the way. Let's take a look here. Addressed the twin turbo already. Robert Burney wants to know what the main difference is between the ATS and the XTS. They look similar, but must be a lot different. Are they both front-wheel drive? Would they really like to? He would really like to know. No, the ATS and the next generation CTS, those are both rear-wheel drive performance-focused sedans. This is on a completely different architecture, where the ATS and CTS are both in the Alpha, the rear-wheel drive performance-oriented architecture that will probably also underpin the next generation Camaro, along with some other vehicles. This car is on the Epsilon. It's front-wheel drive. You can pretty much see that if you look on the as far as the design goes. If you look at the cut line and the dash to axle ratio, the distance between the dash and the axle is pretty short. So this space right here really is what you're looking at as the distance between the axle here and the dash, which starts right about there. You know, if this were a rear-wheel drive car like the ATS, then this would be a little bit longer. You look at a Corvette especially, that distance is like, you know, it's like 1.5 feet. So that's kind of how you could tell right away if a car is rear-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, or somewhere in between. That said, you know, it's still a very stylish, very elegant vehicle. I have no qualms over its styling at all, really. It's just gorgeous. Let's see what else we have. Boohoo also thinks that the picture that's on the post is edited. It's not. So boohoo for you. T. Benjamin wants to drive it. He works for GM, but I guess they're having some this car is tied in the GM Ambassador program where they get to take the car home for a week and kind of show it off to their friends and family and neighbors. Yep, come on down. I'm here in Colorado. We can arrange for a nice little, you know, whatever we want, really. Just as long as we get it approved by the fleet agency who handles these things. Grawdaddy wants me to test the automatic front braking. You know, I tried that yesterday, and then I got really nervous and decided not to. I was coming back from an event yesterday, and I was parking, and I was like, I wonder if I should try pretending that I'm planning on hitting the wall to see if this thing will stop itself. Well, I kind of got a little scared for obvious reasons, and pretty much wussied out. So I don't know if it works. I hope I don't have to find out. But it did work. Here's the interesting part. It did, when I was parking it backwards a couple of days ago, it did brake by itself. It stopped when I was parking, pulling in backwards, because it thought I would hit something in the back. I don't know why. I wasn't going to, but it basically braked by itself and stopped the car. And it's kind of a surreal feeling when you get when that happens. You know, it's not really. It's like the car is driving for you, driving for itself. Let's see what else we have here. Paul asks, Alex, both Motor Trend and Car and Driver, if I'm correct, peg this as a nice car that GM should have never built. What is your take on that? Because I tend to like it having checked out on the car show. You know, that is a very appropriate assessment. That's one of the assessments that I've concluded as well. I think this car should have been built. I think it should be built, but as a Buick. However, of course, the other option is for GM to not have a full-size, or for Cadillac not to have a full-size luxury sedan in general, and I don't think that was really an option either. So you're kind of, you know, they were kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, and they decided to go this route, and that's not a bad thing. It will get Cadillac some sales. It will. I'm sure this is a very profitable project for GM because it does share the architecture with so many other non-luxury vehicles. So I'm sure the profit margins on it are huge. So I don't think it was a mistake. Here's what I personally hope for. I hope that in 3-4 years, whenever Omega is ready, whenever the real full-size rear-wheel drive platform is ready for Caddy, I hope that at that point, this car becomes a Buick, you know, with Buick styling cues, but its dimensions, specifically its trunk, becomes a Buick. And specifically when I'm talking about dimensions, I just want to point this out. The LaCrosse is already pretty much this whole thing. I mean, it's pretty much the same car, except until we get to the rear here. And once we get to the rear, what happens is the XTS is about probably 5-6 inches longer. So basically the LaCrosse would end right about here, somewhere here probably, and the XTS extends that, making for an even bigger trunk. The wheelbase on both the XTS and LaCrosse are the same. So I would really like to see this car, you know, again with Buick styling and Buick really design cues, you know, technology and TeleLink, of course. I'd like that to be applied once this car is end of life on the Cadillac side, to be applied to become a Buick. Manning asks, I live in a state that seems to get slippery road conditions from the snow and ice every few weeks during the winter season. Would like to hear an honest opinion on all-wheel drive. Well, unfortunately, we have dry roads here ourselves. The snow melted about a week ago and is continuing to melt, kind of, sort of. So I didn't really get the chance to test out the all-wheel drive nature of this car in the snow and in the ice. That said, as far as performance goes, I don't really feel it. I don't really feel the fact that it's front-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive biased. It just kind of, you step on it and it kind of goes. There isn't much fuss to it, really. It's kind of an in-between car. So I don't know if that helps, but that's as much as I can do right now. Unless we get snow here in the next couple of days, then I'll revise this particular answer. Well guys, that wraps up our Q&A for the XTS. I hope I've been able to answer at least some of your questions usefully. And if not, then feel free to post a comment in the post, and I'll be sure to reply to you via text in the comment section. It's time for me to go and review this thing for real, take it out on some twisty roads, have some fun in front of the camera, screw up a couple of times here and there. So until next time, this is Alex Luft signing off for GM Authority.